Hello, my planty positives. Thank you for joining me today with some of my plant chores. I am chopping, I am propping, and I am staking today. First, we are going to be propagating my Jessenia pothos again. She just continues to grow like a weed, and I am propagating her. Next, we will be trying to save my Aglaonema, who really did not do well during the winter time, and I tried not to do anything, but I had to do something to save her. And lastly, my Monstera Adansonii did not even realize it was winter and continued to grow and grow and grow, so I'm staking her up to save space. Welcome to Plant Positivism, where we talk all things plants and optimistic living. Let's start first with my Aglaonema. I call my Aglaonema OG because she is my old girl and she is one of my oldest plants. And I was so sad to see her declining over the winter. I did not know what to do. I moved her away from the window she was in front of because she wasn't really in front of a window that was too drafty, but I thought maybe she felt it was too drafty, so I pulled her back from the window. I, moved her to a better location. I thought was a better location. I stopped giving her, very much water because I could see that the water was really not draining as well because she wasn't taking in as much water, which is understandable over the winter. But she had started dropping so many leaves. So many leaves just turned yellow, curled, and dropped. And so I decided to take her out of her pot and see if there was any rotting going on because there was about 3 stalks that were definitely the worst. There were a couple that were okay, and there was one that might have been pretty good. So she had a couple of different stalks in there, and I felt like if I could save a few of them, that would be ideal. This was one of the worst looking stalks. As you can see, the leaves are flopping. I don't have a really great view of the yellowing of the leaves, but they were there were 2 of them that were yellow and they had been yellow for some time. I apologize for the view on this particular chop. I initially was going to use it for some sort of short form video, but then once I got in there and I saw what was happening with the rotting, I thought, this might actually be a good one for long form. And now I see you can't see it as well, but I apologize for that. But anyway, yeah, there was some rotting going on with one of her stalks. This one actually wasn't too bad. I, examined the roots. I saw what was happening there. That was one of the better looking stalks. So didn't really have to do much with that one. Just looked and, made sure everything was looking healthy in there, and it was. That was basically just me kind of moving around some of the soil to make sure I could see inside what was happening with that particular stalk. But that one was actually good to go. There wasn't any issue with that one. These next few stalks were the worst ones. As you can see, the leaves are flopping and the stems were yellow for this whole stalk, and the roots were literally just falling off once I started touching them. This one had, I think, 1 leaf that was kind of standing, but again, the roots were basically just kind of crumbling and crumbled in my hand. So there was a lot of rot on that one. And then this last one, it was just really sad. It was really sad. It didn't even have any roots on it, so I don't know what happened there. If there were roots and the root rot had set in, or if it just didn't have any in the first place, and that was probably one of the reasons why it wasn't doing well. So I went ahead, I gathered up the stalks. I had taken out the dead roots from all of them, and there was one that was actually still in pretty good health. This one, it actually had a new leaf coming and forming on it, so it was fine. I went ahead and cleaned off the roots and threw these stalks in some water. I didn't film that part, but that's what happened there. Next up is my Jessenia Pothos, my reverted Jessenia Pothos. She is amazing though. She grows and grows and grows. I acquired her at the end of the summer last year. Maybe not the end. Maybe it was around July, I would say. I picked her up from one of the box stores and did not know that she was a Jessenia Pothos at the time. I paid attention later when I got home and saw that it said Jessenia Pothos. So when I looked it up, I realized, wait a second, this doesn't look like the Jessenia Pothos that I have. And I learned that it was because she had reverted. So she is all green and she is beautiful. She hangs in my kitchen, which is a northeast window. Sorry, south or southeast window. And she just grows like a weed, and she continued to grow over the winter. You can check out my previous video where I propagated her for the first time and see how how propagation actually works for a pothos here at this video. But this time I wanted to trim her. She was growing again down to where the vent was, and I didn't want her to continue to grow. And my mom really loves this plant, and so she also wanted some propagations and wanted to grow it. I had given my brother the other propagations, so I thought, all right, I'm gonna just chop her one last time before the season starts, and I'm not gonna chop her again until, I don't even know. We'll see how she grows. I know she's gonna grow crazy over the summer, but now I just want to see how long she can get. Here you see on the floor were what I had cut off, and this is what was left of my girl. I mean, she got quite the haircut. She got quite the haircut. If you check the first video where I did the earlier propagation, she was about as long. Here you can see what happens, with the propagations. I was cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting because I did leave some of the top cuttings with, 2 or 3 leaves, but I didn't realize how many leaves there were that I had that were on her stems when I cut them, and I just felt like I was cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. But I'm gonna have some really beautiful propagations, and she propagates so easily. Everything I had last time, actually with the exception of one leaf, rooted, and they rooted beautifully. So I have no doubt that that will occur with these as well. You get the idea of what happens here when you are cutting a number of leaves to propagate. So I sped through this as fast as I could and wound up with a lot of nice cuttings. Here's what she looked like. That's not even all of them. That was only the dish that I had with me, thinking naively that I had a few cuttings and I had way, way more. Oh my God, isn't she so cute? Look at all of those healthy, beautiful leaves. Next up is staking up my Monstera Adansonii. I call her Wild Thoughts because, well, look at her. She is wild. She grows wild. Her leaves are wild. She cannot be tamed. And I'm hoping to tame her a little bit by staking her up. She was starting to grow all over the place. If you check out my previous video of where I went ahead and repotted her, she already was big. But repotting her did not slow down her growth at all. So I decided to put her on some bamboo stakes. I picked these up from Did I pick these up? Oh, I picked these up from one of my box stores. So I picked these up from Lowe's. These were 6 foot stakes. So I basically just cut them in half and stuck 3 foot stakes inside of her pot. I don't know why I only did 3 foot stakes because, as I just said, what she does is grow. So I wasn't really thinking. I probably should have actually taken one of her longest stems to see how high it was before I just assumed that 3 feet would be tall enough, because I did not realize how tall she was. And 3 feet, she's gonna grow past these 3 feet stakes before the summer is over. I don't even know. She might grow past the 3 feet stakes before the spring, because she has continued to grow through the winter. She did not slow down her growth at all. The repot did not slow down her growth, which I did at the end of summer last year. Wait, it might have even been like right early fall, but it was still good weather. And that didn't slow down her growth. The winter did not slow down her growth. I did not move her. I kept her in the same spot. I was really concerned that the winter might, because she has, thin leaves. I'm in the Northeast. It does get cold. It didn't get super cold this winter. That may have been what saved her. Let's get my baby staked up on these pitifully short 3 foot stakes. Wow. Just looking at them now, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was thinking. Even as I was holding them up next to the plant, you can see one of her taller leaves were just a couple of inches from the top of that stake. But I I'm new to this, so we learn as we go, right? We can't get upset with ourselves if we make mistakes and if we aren't paying attention. I just needed her to not be taking up as much space where she was, and I thought staking her up would be great. Next time, for sure, I will consider how fast she grows and add at least another foot to these stakes. It took me a minute to get her fully staked up. She had a lot more going on than I thought, and between trying to get things around a stake that was close and securing it with the tape without disturbing any of her leaves, I actually ripped a couple of them. It took me a minute. It took me a minute. while it did take me longer than I initially thought that it was going to take me to stake her up, it took me in total probably about 20 minutes from the time that I actually had cut the stakes to getting her up to the way that I wanted her. And I thought it might take me maybe 5, oh, possibly 10 minutes. No, it took longer. But I actually found this to be quite relaxing. I didn't realize that. I found it to be quite relaxing. I was able to also see the growth firsthand, like very close up, right? Because I was manipulating so many of the leaves and I was able to see a lot of the growth firsthand. And so many of her big leaves have still survived. You know, she has lost some of the larger leaves at the bottom, of course, due to age, but many of them have continued to live, and I was able to see some new growth. It was a very satisfying time. And now look at my baby. Thank you for joining me on some of my winter plant chores, my chop, my prop, and my steak. And I actually have on my website articles for the care of the Jessenia pothos as well as the Monstera Adansonii at plantpositivism.com. Please check out the website. Thank you. See you in the next video.